This is a Sunday homily for first Sunday of Lent, year B 2024. Lent is a period that lasts 40 days in which we as Catholic Christians prepare ourselves to celebrate the resurrection of Christ on Easter Sunday. Again, it is the time that catechumens prepare themselves for baptism. In the Gospel reading of today, on this first Sunday of Lent 2024, we read the story of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness. In essence, Lent is a period for our spiritual renewal by living reconciliation, forgiveness, prayer, fasting, and doing charity. Therefore, one may pose these questions. Why was Jesus tempted, and yet he is the Son of God? Why does Lent last 40 days? These are some of the questions that will be fully explained in this Sunday reflection. To begin with, on this first Sunday of Lent 2024, from the Gospel reading, which is taken from St. Mark, chapter 1, from verses 12 to 15, in which we read the temptations of Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days. Even though St. Mark is very brief in his explanations about the temptations of Jesus, but we can rely on other synoptic texts to understand the details of Jesus' experience in the wilderness. Anyhow, there are some symbols that are used to teach us something in the Gospel passage of today. For example, the usage of wilderness and the meaning of number 40. In fact, wilderness in this context represents the place of trial and God's revelation. On the other hand, the number 40 represents the time of preparation for something new to emerge. What is the origin of number 40 according to the Holy Scriptures? As an overview, when we look at the first reading that is taken from Genesis chapter 9 from verses 8 to 15, we find out that floods had covered the earth for 40 days and 40 nights before God established a covenant with Noah and his descendants. Again, Moses prepared himself for 40 days and 40 nights at Mount Sinai before he received the 10 Commandments. Again, it took 40 days for the Israelites to cross the wilderness before reaching the promised land. Jesus, as the new Moses, leads the people of God to the new promised land, that is heaven, and he spent 40 days in the wilderness to prepare himself for his public ministry. While in the wilderness, Jesus experienced three things. 1, the temptation by Satan. 2, he lived with wild beasts. And lastly, the angels ministered to him. Let us look at what could be the deeper understanding of each and every aspect that I have just mentioned. First, the temptations by Satan. Jesus in the wilderness was tempted, but he did overcome the temptations. Indeed, temptations in themselves are not bad. However, it becomes evil when we succumb to it. Generally in life, man and temptations could be compared to a hook that a fisherman uses to fish. How? A fisherman puts on the hook a worm or something attractive so that the fish sees nice food. But behind that, there is a hook that will trap it. Once the fish is tempted to get this nice food, it will be trapped by the hook. In our life too, we encounter situations, we encounter some things, we encounter opportunities that look nice and attractive to us, but then behind there is a hook that can trap us. What are the things that tempt us today? More often, this is how Satan uses temptations to hook and drag us into sin. Man is tempted every time and everywhere. That is why we need Christ during this period of Lent to help us overcome temptations like him. Let us now look at the second thing that happened to Jesus in the wilderness, which was he lived with wild beasts. This peaceful coexistence between Jesus and the wild beasts fulfills the prophecy that was foretold by prophet Isaiah chapter 11 verse 6. In this passage, prophet Isaiah talks of the peaceful coexistence between wild animals and human beings so long as the Messiah is present. On the contrary, wild beasts in the wilderness represent the evil spirits or evil forces of which Jesus did not succumb simply because he trusted, he hoped, loved, and faithfully served God, who was his Father. Lastly but not least, while in the wilderness, Jesus was visited by angels who ministered to him, which simply means the divine presence. Do we have similar experiences of Jesus in the wilderness today as Christians? Of course, yes. In our life today, everyone is tempted through our senses, through our thoughts, and through our memories. Therefore, during this period of Lent, we get an opportunity to correct, to adjust, to reconstruct, to rediscover and renew our spiritual life. This period of 40 days helps us to renew ourselves spiritually and get ready to celebrate Paschal mysteries with the resurrected Christ. Generally, as a church, we have 3 pillars of Lent. That is fasting, charity, and prayer. Let us use these 3 pillars to improve our spiritual life as Christians today. Let this Lenten period become a way of life, as our Holy Father St. Augustine reminds us in his Sermon 205, number 1, Lent is the epitome of our life as Christians. To conclude, on this first Sunday of Lent 2024, let us give up something so as to create more time and hunger for God during this Lenten season. Amen. Have a blessed Lenten period.